Hi. Welcome back to another episode on my channel. Today I wanted to introduce you to the tragic case of Molly McLaren, a young girl whose fate was determined by her love for the wrong man. This is a story that will be remembered for a long time. In September 2015, 21-year-old Molly McLaren began studying physical education at the University of Kent in the southeast of England. Molly loved sports and was very open and sociable. She had no problem finding a new group of friends at her new school. According to Chloe Smith, her best friend, everyone gravitated towards Molly, and she made new friends with her zest, and was very well liked. Once she started studying, Molly also started an online blog where she shared her love for physical activity and a healthy lifestyle. However, while on the outside her life seemed perfect, in reality it was not. The girl had been struggling with an eating disorder for years. Specifically, bulimia. She really wanted to get out of this disorder. In the summer of 2016, the girl met 25-year-old Joshua Stimpson on the dating app Tinder. Joshua worked at Windows Plan and Strut, and seemed to be a very resourceful, decent young man. However, his colleagues agreed that Joshua had two different faces. As if two people were living in his body. One was charming, smart, and a great Windows salesman, and the other was a depressed loner. Of course, Molly got to know the charming and nice side of Joshua. The man was also very handsome. He was attractive and well-built, which, combined with his charismatic personality, effectively caught the attention of the 21-year-old. For the next 3 months, the couple exchanged messages before they decided to meet for the first time in real life. Everything seemed to be going perfectly, and they started dating regularly. Chloe, Molly's best friend, mentioned that her friend seemed very smitten. Joshua was her first real boyfriend. During one meeting, Joshua confided to Molly that he had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. This information worried the girl's mother especially. Joanne, knowing that her daughter was struggling with her own problems in the form of eating disorders, was afraid that the boy's problems would completely overwhelm her daughter. However, Molly herself was sure that mutual support and help would only strengthen their relationship and positively influence their lives. Molly and Joshua seemed to have a very happy relationship. After a few months, even Joanne began to warm up to the boy. He spent most of his free time at his girlfriend's house. Especially he liked talking to her father, Doug, about football and other common interests. They liked each other so much that Joshua preferred to spend Father's Day with Doug instead of with his own dad. In April 2017, Molly's entire family gathered to support Joshua during the London Marathon, where runners raised funds to support people suffering from bipolar disorder. Unfortunately, as time passed, Molly's loved ones began to notice changes in her relationship with her boyfriend. In March, Joanne noticed that her daughter seemed bored with the relationship. She was starting to feel overwhelmed by how much time the 25-year-old wanted to spend with her. According to Doug, the boy had no friends and was a loner, which is why he relied so much on the support and time of his girlfriend and her family. He also became more and more possessive. He wanted Molly all to himself and wasn't interested in making new friends, and even stopped hanging out with his old friends. He often showed up at Molly's house uninvited, and when she was studying, he would lie on the bed and wait, as if he constantly wanted to know where his partner was and what she was doing. After a while, Joshua even quit his job so he could spend more time with Molly during her summer break from college. This put a huge strain on their already fragile relationship. Up to this point, however, Joshua's behavior had been irritating, but not yet disturbing. This change, however, was soon to come. On the occasion of Aunt Molly's 60th birthday, the whole family met for quite a large party. Josh was also invited as an attendant, and was behaving very strangely during the event. He kept staring at his partner and trying to force Molly to sit next to him, and not dance with anyone, not even her own cousins. One of her cousins, who met Joshua for the first time that night, said he made a very poor first impression on her. After the party ended, Molly and Joshua returned to their bedroom and there they had a rather serious argument, during which the boy began recording Molly without her consent. Molly was distraught and texted her mom, asking her to come to their room as soon as possible. At the scene, Joanne found an upset Molly and Joshua, who was trying hard to show her recordings that were supposed to show what her daughter was really like. This incident made the girl decide to end the relationship. But it wasn't that simple. Molly was very afraid of the boy's reaction, considering his disorder and very unusual behavior recently. However, she knew that this fear could not force her to stay in a relationship with someone she did not love and who was becoming more and more aggressive and wanted to manipulate her. So she decided to end the relationship while meeting her friends. She simply took Joshua aside and told him it was over. As she expected, the boy then started screaming loudly and causing a scene in front of all her friends. But this still seemed to be the best place for Molly to break up because she felt the most safe. She was afraid of what the boy might do if she told him alone. As you might guess, Josh didn't accept this decision and bombarded her with messages. Molly, however, was adamant that she never wanted to go back to him. Josh began stalking her on social media and publishing online posts slandering the girl. He wrote, among other things, that Molly was a drug addict and that she used cocaine. At first, Molly tried to ignore it and wait until the boy calmed down. However, after talking to her friends, she decided that it would be better to report the matter to the police. Joshua's rage seemed to grow with each passing day. So the girl printed all the posts and on June 22, 2017, she went with them to the police station. Due to the fact that Joshua had no criminal history, the police told the girl that she should just block him on social media and report if this abuse continues. The officer also called Joshua to warn him, but the boy seemed not only unconcerned by the prospect of police intervention, but downright dismissive of the officer. A few days after visiting the police station, Molly wrote on Snapchat that she was going to dinner with friends. She was sure her ex-boyfriend wouldn't see the posts because she had already blocked Joshua. However, at some point the boy appeared in the same restaurant. The girl tried to explain it by accident, but she felt very uncomfortable with the fact that he was in the same place as her, and left the meeting early. On June 28, 2017, Molly went to the Pure Gym located in the shopping center. She wanted to become a personal trainer soon, so that day she recorded her training to show it to recruiters. She later visited the pub with a group of friends. At one point, Josh entered the pub accompanied by a girl whom Molly and her friends had never seen before. Chloe noticed that Molly seemed terrified by Joshua's sudden appearance. Another similar situation in just a few days could not have been a mere coincidence. It turned out that Molly had posted about the meeting on social media earlier that day, which meant that Josh, despite being blocked, was following her posts and deliberately appeared wherever she was. His behavior was very disturbing. Most of the time he stood off to the side and stared at Molly and her group of friends. Her friends tried to calm the girl down and asked her not to worry about Joshua. Once again, however, the 21-year-old finally felt too uncomfortable in his presence and decided to leave the pub early. There was no doubt that the girl was experiencing stalking from her former partner. The next day, June 29, 2017, Molly went to the gym once again. She showed up at 10:10 a.m. Shortly after her, Joshua also showed up there. At 10:45 she texted her mother, sent her a photo, and said that Joshua appeared in the same place as her and was next to her the whole time. And indeed, the gym surveillance footage shows Joshua looking for Molly and then appearing right next to her. Molly felt very uncomfortable and even called her mother. Joanne told her daughter to go home, but at the same time she remained calm, took her time, didn't panic, and, above all, drove safely. At 11:02, the girl also wrote a message in the group chat that she constantly felt like she had to be careful and look over her shoulder. 6 minutes later, at 11:08, Molly got into her Citroën parked in the parking lot in front of the shopping center. Josh appeared right behind her. He suddenly opened the driver's side door and launched an attack. The incident was witnessed by many people who were in the parking lot at the time. One of them was Benjamin Morton. When the man realized what was happening, he immediately rushed to help. He saw the young attacker stabbing the girl in the head and neck. Morton first shouted at other witnesses to call 911, then tried to scare off the attacker while maintaining a safe distance to protect his life. However, when that didn't work, he slammed Josh's leg in the car door and then tried to grab his leg and pull him away, but his hands slipped because there was so much blood everywhere. Only after a long while did Benjamin see the woman's condition and know that there was no help for her. The only thing he could do was to prevent the perpetrator from escaping. He decided to park his car, blocking Molly's car so that the attacker could not drive away. However, it soon became clear that Joshua had no intention of running away. At some point he simply stopped the attack and stood next to the car. He looked straight ahead with dead eyes, expressing no emotions. Moments later, a police car appeared on the scene. Witnesses saw Joshua wipe the blood from his face and then voluntarily surrender to the police. Molly was officially pronounced dead at 11:43 a.m. Her loved ones were absolutely devastated. Joanne had to break the news of this tragedy to her husband by phone because at that time, Doug was working on a boat in Senegal. During this time, Joshua was taken in for questioning. And even though he committed this attack in broad daylight in front of numerous witnesses and was arrested covered in blood, and he had the murder weapon with him, he did not admit to murder, but to unintentional manslaughter. He was probably counting on a lower sentence, and claimed that he had no memory of the attack at all. Molly's loved ones could not recover from this tragedy, and there was still a whole court process ahead of them, during which they had to listen to the gruesome details of their daughter's death. The autopsy report stated that Molly McLaren was stabbed 75 times with a paring knife, which Joshua bought from the home-based store. During the trial, it was revealed that Joshua did not actually have bipolar disorder, which was confirmed by several expert psychiatrists. Dr. Philip Joseph said the 26-year-old was vain and obsessed with his own feelings, and according to Dr. Shahid Majid, Josh suffered from borderline personality disorder that affected his ability to self-control. Joshua did not want to explain to the court why he took the life of his former partner, and his defense lawyer claimed that the murder took place in the conditions of the so-called limited sanity. He said Stimpson was desperate and extremely sensitive to rejection after his mother left when he was a child. This was to have an impact on how he treated relationships with women later in life. The defense attorney added that he had difficulty dealing with his emotions after his parents divorced when he was 12. It was also revealed that the accused had previously had problems in his relationships with women. Alexandra Dale and Leah Hubbard, who dated him previously, told the court about his controlling and possessive nature. Alexandra said that the boy called her dozens of times a day. He also threatened to fly over and drown her while she was on vacation and even punctured all the tires on her car. He forbade her from talking to other men and took photos of her without her knowledge. Leah Hubbard also described her experience with Josh, which was very similar. When they met, over time the boy became more and more controlling, especially when she couldn't always spend time with him. She once even threatened to report his harassment to the police after he followed her to a bar again. That day, he was taken away by the bouncer after he spilled a drink on a girl. However, when Leah left the premises 5 hours later, it turned out that Joshua was still sitting in front of the door waiting for her. Another time, he was knocking on the window from 2 a.m., saying he needed to charge his phone. During the investigation, it turned out that the boy should have been known to the police and should have been in the registers. And the officers made a huge, tragic mistake by downplaying Molly McLaren's report. 4 years before her death, when he was dating Alexandra, the girl reported to the police that he was harassing her with messages. Unfortunately, this was not recorded and Joshua only received a text message from the policeman warning him to stay away from the girl. The boy had never had a criminal record or even been suspected of stalking and was not on the database, so Kent police had no idea that his behavior towards Molly McLaren is not an isolated incident, but part of a pattern of his behavior that he may escalate. Ultimately, Joshua admitted that he had been thinking about harming Molly days before the murder. In his opinion, Molly should have ended their relationship with more respect. Ultimately, the boy was found guilty of murder and on February 6, 2018, he was sentenced to at least 26 years in prison. The jury reached a unanimous decision in just a few hours. When announcing the verdict, the defendant was extremely calm, did not show any emotions and looked straight ahead. Judge Adele Williams emphasized that Joshua had committed the act premeditated, deliberately and in the most cruel way possible, and his motive was revenge. She added that Joshua is a very dangerous young man and will pose a serious threat to women who are unlucky enough to cross his path for a very long time, if not for the rest of his life. Currently, the man is in prison and will be eligible for parole on January 28, 2044. Molly's parents are still struggling with the trauma of losing their daughter. They also make no secret of their disappointment with the law that has failed Molly. They hope that changes to reporting laws will protect other girls who find themselves in the same situation, and that they will be able to avoid the fate that befell their beloved daughter. On February 16, 2018, Benjamin Morton, a witness to the attack who tried to stop Joshua and risked his own life, was commended for his courage by the High Sheriff of Kent. George Jessel presented the award and a check for £500 at Maidstone Crown Court. And that's the end of this sad story, which perhaps could have been avoided if the reports of Joshua's previous girlfriend had been taken seriously. Unfortunately, nothing will bring Molly back to life. I can't even imagine the pain her parents feel. One can only hope that further such cases will be avoided in the future. If you liked this video, please subscribe. Stay safe.